building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is the Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
Welcome, Giant Builders. I am here today with Jillian Schleger, and she is a mindset healing coach.
It kind of varies from day to day. I sort of ride the wave of what is needed and where should I go, and but that sounds pretty good.
All right. Well, welcome, Jillian. It's good to have you here today. Can you expand for me as to what it is that you do?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's great to meet you and great to be on your podcast. So what I do, I'm an author, a healer, a coach. I've been teaching on and off for over 20 years. I have a wide range of healing modalities that I actually kind of patchworked them together, pieced them together, my favorite bits of these different healing modalities, so that I get right to the core, the root, the cause of challenges and things that are keeping my clients and my students stuck in their lives and in their business. A lot of times that revolves around money and money mindset, because it's such a tangled, in-depth, layer upon layer, beautiful work of art that we've created around our mindset and around money and around income and around creating that ourselves. That's what I tend to focus on with my clients, because that's where they really want the bulk of the work to be done.
Why is it, or how do people get stuck in this how part? I mean, what's the process?
I think we get stuck in the how because since very, very little, one of the first rules that we learn is we need to ask other people, and we rely on other people to help us and to give us what we need. And we're not encouraged to step outside the box when we're young. We're encouraged to go with the flow and to be okay with and pacified by what we're given. And we're actually taught to not ask for more. And asking for more may be bad or wrong. And from 0 to 7 years old, we're in theta brainwave. So in theta, we're actually it's similar to hypnosis. So we have all of these rules, and the subconscious takes these rules and creates the blueprint of our life, our reality that we function from. So we get stuck in well, I can't create this on my own. I have to rely on and wait for someone outside of me to give that to me. So there's a whole bunch of layers of self-trust that come up, doubt or worry, fear, anxiety. There's a lot of worthiness, shame, grief, frustration. And these layers build over time because we are used to waiting for that outside source, that outside person, to give us what we desire. So it's a really interesting process when we start to uncover and release these layers. And I do a lot of healing and energy work. And these thought patterns are energy. Quantum physics now tell us that our mind isn't in our brain, it's outside of us. And it's a really, really beautiful process to start to take away the energy, the heightened awareness that we're actually used to having within these layers of doubt or worry or beliefs or limitations or conclusions. It's a beautiful process when we take away that energy and we're allowing ourselves to rebuild the how in our own way.
What does that look like? I'm very curious as to what would a first meeting look like?
So a first meeting would look at, it's really interesting because we look at what somebody doesn't like in their reality, in their life. And oftentimes with this, in the realm of law of attraction or manifesting, we're often told we can't ever voice what we don't like. We always have to be focused on what you do want and what you want to create. And we can't voice, I don't like this, or I don't like that, or I don't want this, or I don't want that. And I actually start with the dissatisfactions. So it's very freeing for a lot of my clients and students, because they were told to only use affirmations that were positive and to never ever say anything, negative. But when we start with the dissatisfactions of what you don't like in your reality, and your listeners can do this right now, is make a list of your 5 top dissatisfactions. What in your life really is ticking you off? And really be open and honest with yourself, and allow yourself to free flow. If there's more than 5, go for it. Write them down and really, really brainstorm and brain dump all of the places in your life that you are just really ticked off with, really dissatisfied with. And I come back to, often, I was in a mastermind group with Dr. Joe Vitale, and he said to write down the top 5 things that, if you had these things in your reality, you would be amazingly happy. It would just light up your world. And I was writing down things like, a really amazing dog park for my dog, and maybe a trip to, I live in Nova Scotia, so there's a North Shore and a South Shore, an amazing trip to the South Shore where there's Peggy's Cove. I was writing down these, really great things. And when Dr. Joe Vitale came back and he said, what did you write down? And we kind of shared some, and he said, well, I wrote down, a trip around the world and a private jet. And, his happiness level was way higher than mine. I wasn't reaching for the stars. I was reaching for, the nearby 7-Eleven kind of thing. Right? But when we look at what is available for us, when we take away those dissatisfactions, and when we allow ourselves to say, hey, you know what, I am dissatisfied in these areas of my life, and I can reach for something more. I can create something different than this. So let's go beyond those dissatisfactions. Once you write down those top 5 dissatisfactions, you then neutralize them. You take.
Oh, sorry. What does that look like?
You take the emotion out. You take the energy out. And once you take the energy out of those dissatisfactions, and we can do an exercise to do that if you'd like. It's really simple. It's really easy. It's really fun.
Okay.
What I do is I do something that's called flip it and shift it. And it's one of my favorite activities. My students love it as well. You create a whiteboard in your mind out in front of you. And this whiteboard has 0% on the left and 100% on the right. So if you have any dissatisfaction, we've been kind of talking about money. So if there's a money goal that you're working on, and it's just eluding you, it's just really slippery and elusive, and you just can't really grab it. So if you're thinking about that, and if you thought of, let's do an affirmation of, I can't have that. And from 0 on the left to 100% on the right with this whiteboard out in front of you, just pretend that it's there. You don't have to do it perfect, and you can't do it wrong. If you had to say, thinking about this money goal, and you said to yourself, I can't have that. Think of what percentage would come up if you were like throwing a dart at this whiteboard. And whatever percentage that is, if it's 20% or 99, you can then imagine yourself, or physically do it, grab that percentage in the air and bring it down as close to 0 as you can. So that's the first part. And then we're going to flip it. So where I can't have that turns into flipped into the positive. I can have that. I can do that. I can be that. I can create that, whatever resonates with you. And tuning into that vibration of I can have that. Now you're going to test that on this whiteboard. And again, if it's 20% or 80%, you're going to imagine grabbing this percentage and bringing it up closer to 100. So you're flipping it into the positive, any dissatisfaction, and you're shifting it, I call, bringing it up in percentage for something that you do want and you're not completely aligned with, or you're shifting it down in percentage. And you can do this with virtually anything. I used that technique to quit smoking, and I smoked for close to 30 years.
So the mental process of imagining that, so is it like convincing yourself that, yes, you can do this?
Well, it's interesting because it's less convincing yourself, and it's more a tool that connects you directly with your subconscious mind. Your subconscious loves games and imagery and loves to play. And your conscious usually gets in the way of us connecting to and doing anything with the subconscious mind. So we have our conscious mind, and then we have what our analytical mind. And we've all heard the tip of the iceberg above the surface of the water that you see. The iceberg is your conscious mind. And I say the water is actually your analytical mind. So anything that tries to come near your subconscious gets bounced off of the water, bounced off of your analytical mind. But this is so insignificant, so playful, so childish, that your conscious mind and your analytical mind just lets you play with this. And the shifting allows your subconscious, and it's interesting because if you have a lot of emotions around something, and money, we have a lot of emotions around money, or a goal that you're working on, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of memories, there's a lot of rules or beliefs or conclusions or expectations or judgments around all of these different things that we have in our life and that we want to create in our lives. So if we take the energy out of them, if we neutralize them, and we use this whiteboard to shift out of the negative feelings, flip it into the positive, and then shift into the positive feelings, the subconscious really enjoys, really has fun playing with that process. But if anybody's doing these techniques, I advise them to drink a lot of water, because you're actually creating change in your body. And water helps that change, that process to take effect at a healthier rate.
If we're raising our children, so that up to 7-year-old, what should we do differently than what our parents did so not to create these layers in this onion? What tips would you have for parenting?
Yeah, good question. I love the question. I'm actually writing a book for Hay House right now that's called Dancing with Shadows. And Dancing with Shadows is around this question and around raising super conscious children. The whiteboard technique that we just used is a form of muscle testing. And it's applied kinesiology. I would love for more parents to use this with their kids. And a lot of my students and clients have taught these tools to their children. So muscle testing can be, I've worked with so many children who I've taught for years, and I worked with so many children who were in the foster care system. I'm adopted, and I was with 6 different caregivers before I was 6 months old. We have, as a child, what does that teach a kid when they're in the foster system, right? There's I'm not heard, I'm abandoned, I'm rejected. So if we have a child that's not listening, or we have a child that's not, doing what we want them to do, or doing the right thing, we can actually use this tool with them, with their permission, and we can teach children how to muscle test themselves. How empowering would that be for a child to look at a situation and say, that's something truly that will empower me or disempower me? Is that for my benefit, or will that be not for my benefit? Does that make sense?
It does, but especially for like a 3-year-old,
Yeah.
they won't know whether that empowers them or not. So how do you guide them through that process?
Yeah. Well, and 3-year-olds, well, even 2-year-olds will tell you what they like and what they don't like, what feels good for them and what doesn't feel good. I remember, I actually don't. When I was 2, my parents and my brother and I lived in Europe for a year, and we traveled all around. My parents took us to Auschwitz, and I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm a very intuitive person. I'm a healer, and I'm super. That sensitivity was there since I was probably born. So I was tugging on my mom's jacket, saying, "Go, leave, go." I didn't want to be there. And she just kind of, oh, stop, you're fine. As most parents would, you're in a historical, I don't know why they were there, but that I'm sure there was a reason. And they just wanted to finish their tour. In that situation, you could muscle test. You can check in with the comfort of that child. If there's anything going on with children, if they're not listening, if a lot of children say, I see spirits, I see a ghost in my closet or a ghost under my bed, you can use muscle testing and check in and say, okay, what is really going on here? Is that a spirit? Is my child, a lot of children are very, very, very highly sensitive and see and hear things that we are taught as adults that don't exist and diminished. So we can use muscle testing to encourage the child to trust their feedback, but also so muscle testing, if kids say, I don't like those peas, and they just want to get out of eating the peas, you can actually work with your child. One technique to muscle test, other than the whiteboard, is to put your hand, usually your dominant hand, on your clavicle and put it flat against your skin. But then raise your index finger and test with your other hand how strong that index finger can be kept up high above your skin. And then that's your baseline. And you want to say what is yes, and you're testing that strength of your finger, that you can keep it high up above your skin. And then you say what is no, and no should weaken that finger. And that is muscle testing. Your body never forgets and your body never lies. And that's essentially your whiteboard. So the whiteboard can be a percentage. Left is 0%, right is 100%. And you can also do a no on the left and a yes on the right. And testing into this is super powerful. What does your body feel like when it's saying yes? What does your body feel like when it's saying no? And working with your child to get on that baseline so that you know what yes is for your child and you know what no is for your child, and so do they.
That's very interesting. So would you have the child put their hand on the chest, or as a parent you could do that? The child would need to do that, right?
Both. Mm-hmm. Both. Yeah, so you can collaborate and have that baseline together. It depends on how open that child is, a lot of times they love to play, and they're highly intuitive at a young age. So tapping into and empowering them to trust their own intuition and to trust, what does yes feel like in your body? What does no feel like in your body?
Any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts, I would say to really try this and test it out. And if you want to try this to prove me wrong, go for it. It seems like it's way out there. It seems like it's, on the side of the woo, and that's fine. There is a lot of data that quantum physics are proving around this and other amazing, amazing things that our body is trying to tell us. And it's starting to listen to your body. I'm rewriting my book, Kinetic Divination, and I was reminded of the time that I first heard my body tell the truth. For years, I had been wanting to learn muscle testing, and I wasn't able to muscle test myself. I was able to muscle test other people, but not ever myself. So 2 things with that. It's important to be at courage or above at a certain energetic or emotional state. So sitting in gratitude before you muscle test is really important. And 2, when you're in a very heightened emotional situation, that's sometimes difficult to muscle test yourself. I was on the way to the hospital to get tested to see if I had breast cancer. And I was with a friend, and my friend said to me, "You don't have cancer." And I said, no, I don't have cancer. And when I said that, I knew I was lying. I could feel that that was untrue. And that was the first time that muscle testing, unfortunately, that was the first time that muscle testing, I could feel the difference of yes and no. And how empowering this is to be able to communicate with your body and to be able to hear what actually is yes and what is no. So I'd love for your listeners to really use this in any and all capacities that they feel fits for their life, to communicate with their body so that they can create the life that they desire and deserve.
So what's the title of your book?
I have a few. So in the next year, hopefully, the Hay House book will be out. That's called Dancing with Shadows. And there are other books. There's Morning Mantras for Allowing. That is a book series. There's 2 in that series right now. There's also Doubtless that's coming out in the next 6 months or so, early 2022. And the first book that I wrote is being rewritten, and it's called Kinetic Divination, which is maybe a working title right now, but that will be out hopefully before Christmas 2021.
Well, I'll tell you what, listeners, we will give away one of the books if you leave a comment below, either in our Facebook group or on the YouTube video. So we'll have a random drawing and give away the book for free. Well, thank you very much. That was very enlightening, and I'm just really overwhelmed with understanding all of that. It's just, I can really see how that's such a significance for us to understand. So when people want to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, I have a website, jillianschleger.com. Jillian is Jillian. Schleger is Schleger, and it's .com. Or I'm on all the socials, TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram.
All right. Well, thank you, Jillian. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. This has been great and lovely chatting with you.
Thank you. All right, Giant Builders, see you next Tuesday at 2.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.